Welcome to Recap Our Studio.
Come and learn how a top agent gets rid of the murderer. The guy initially entered the restroom after making sure no one was present. He walked into the toilet, then opened a mystery package and pulled out a microchip. After confirming with the device, he inserted the chip into a syringe and injected it into his body. Just after the procedure, the murderer outside has already arrived. He pushed through the door to inspect one by one, but the guy had already gone around the rear after the man executed the murderers cleanly. He arrived to the restaurant, he paid a lot of money for someone to don his clothing and walk out the front door. The guy didn't go more than a few feet when he was shot in the head by an ambush sniper. The guy had already slipped out the rear door. The driver was shot in the head shortly before he got in the vehicle and drove a short distance. The automobile got out of control and crashed with a car approaching from the other way. The guy swiftly stepped out of the automobile and blended into the throng of the procession. The killer's car could not balance and had to pursue on foot. Seeing the murderer step by step, the guy purposely stunned and caused pandemonium. Crowds scatter in fear when they realize the assassins couldn't pursue their target because he had angered too many high-level figures. The assassins quickly encircled him from all sides. The guy had no way of getting away. Seeing the American embassy just in time, the guy abandoned his other passports and guns and headed for the embassy entrance. Killers could only watch as their victim walked away at this point, but do you feel comfortable re-entering the embassy now? Tobin, a renowned CIA officer and the agency's largest traitor in history, is the most sought guy in the United States CIA and hence cannot be trusted. During his decade-long defection, he sold a great deal of classified material to foreign intelligence organizations, resulting in immeasurable harm to the United States. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, also sent a sizable team to go looking for him, but they came up empty-handed. After hiding from the public for 10 years, he finally made an unexpected appearance at the embassy today. The whole CIA staff was thrown into disarray by this. A team was sent shortly afterwards by the director to whisk him away to a secure location where he would be interrogated. Matt is in charge of the safe house. He's been there for 5 years but hasn't been given any work to do. A task was going to be given to him, and his enthusiasm was over the roof. Once the prisoner's hood was taken off, knowing who Tobin was, Matt instantly identified him as the famed agent. Waterboarding is the cruelest kind of torture they utilize, and it terrified Matt. The efficiency of the operations group suggests that this strategy is widely used. Tobin snatched it just before they were about to resort to more severe measures to get the confession out of him. After a gang of assassins broke through the door from the outside, the team was prepared to fight back. The only person keeping watch over Tobin was Matt. He's never seen anything like this with real bullets before. Tobin dismantles Matt's mental fortifications, warning him to eliminate him immediately or else everyone would perish. Rather of feeling less overwhelmed, his feelings deepen as he peers out the rear window to assess the situation. In this case, he stumbles upon the murder of the operations chief. For the first time, he completely lost his composure. No longer is it secure to go to the safe house. To escape, Matt took Tobin and escaped down a hidden tunnel. As he reported to headquarters, he used his revolver to halt a vehicle, threw Tobin into the trunk, and took off running. The last time they met, John instructed him to conceal out until someone from headquarters came to get him. This very moment, the murderer following close behind is rapidly closing the gap. Matt successfully evaded them thanks to his talent as a driver. To his astonishment, however, Tobin emerged from the trunk and attempted to exert control over Matt, who, although it was his first time doing the duty, had attended a secret service school. A vehicle was in his way as he drove into the subterranean garage, so he had no choice but to crash into it head-on. Tobin was briefly rendered unable to act as a result of the tremendous impact. Use your wits and figure out why they located the safe house so fast. After Matt brought Tobin to a hotel to hide temporarily and he began talking to Matt again. They're going to use you as an excuse. As a result of his anger, Matt makes another call to headquarters. We're trying to figure out how our enemies managed to locate us so rapidly. Immediately, when they arrived at the next safe house, Tobin flung his hands in the air and screamed for help, prompting Matt to take him there. He told the cops he was abducted. What had transpired had left Matt feeling a little overwhelmed. As the cops approached, he produced a firearm and pointed it at them. A terrorist suspect, he was taken into custody. As a precaution, Tobin was brought to the hospital's emergency room. But soon enough, Matt checked the security footage and saw the hospital in disarray. Before anybody could stop Tobin, he was well gone. For Matt, it was impossible to do nothing. The indignation in him was instantaneous. With lightning speed, he eliminated the police officers assigned to his protection. However, he was ambushed when he located Tobin. As far as Matt was concerned, he was already dead. However, Tobin just shot him in the ear. Maybe in Matt and himself, Tobin thinks. When the main office found out that Tobin had gotten away, they told Matt he couldn't handle the situation on his own since, as Tobin had indicated, he was no longer welcome at the CIA. John and Karen were sent to South Africa from headquarters immediately to take charge of the issue. Matthew felt wronged and refused to give up. After discovering that Tobin had a buddy in South Africa with a false license, he entered into the CIA system and took unapproved activity. He slashed into his skin and retrieved a pill-shaped thing from his body. Despite its little size, this item is very valuable due to the wealth of evidence it contains regarding widespread bribery at the highest levels of the CIA. Tobin returned, having cleaned up his appearance with a haircut and a shave. Tobin was getting ready to depart the country and had already started the passport application process. However, there was no way for Tobin to catch up. Unfortunately for Tobin, his old buddy was shot in the head before he could catch up. Tobin realized the murderer had come after the whole building had been engulfed in a hail of gunfire, so he leapt to the top of the next building and relied on his agility to engage the assailants there. The quantity of them was excessive. Tobin was cornered, and there was no way out. Tobin's automobile was in danger, but Matt sped up to the scene in time to fire a shot. They got away from the murderer's frantic gunfire, but their automobile was flipped over before they could gather their breath. Matt learned the identity of the assailants from one of them while hiding out in an apartment from the impending murderers. The revelation that he was a CIA official shattered Matt's whole worldview. Even though the CIA is evil in his eyes, he had made it thus far. It's a pity to end things so abruptly. That being the case, he led Tobin to the subsequent hiding place. John and Kelly both made it to South Africa at exactly the same time. Kelly learned that Tobin had the chip in his hand, so she contacted John to discuss their next steps. However, when the two finally meet, John kills Kelly. Meanwhile, Matt led Tobin to the safe house, but he did not trust the agent inside and held him at gunpoint. It was only after he confirmed with headquarters that he was right that he relaxed his guard against the housekeeper. But as Matt tied up Tobin, the housekeeper suddenly attacked him. Matt fought with the housekeeper for a while before killing her by strangulation. He, too, suffered life-threatening wounds. Tobin's chains were off, and he looked at Matt, who was in a bad shape, and told him the truth. Over the course of 5 years ago, the Israeli intelligence service developed a blacklist of coerced intelligence that included proof of wrongdoing on the part of numerous high-ranking CIA officers. Once Matt started listening, he picked up on everything right away. However, Tobin did not remove him from the premises but instead abandoned them. As soon as Matt comes to, his supervisor is there in front of him. John threatens Matt, stating that the only way he can adequately explain what happened is if Matt writes a report to headquarters claiming that Tobin murdered Kelly. Matt still goes with his gut and turns down John's offer. Finally, as the murderer readies his attack, John points to the person waiting outside the door. John hears a noise outside and goes to investigate. On his way there, the automobile next to him suddenly explodes, knocking him back inside. Tobin appears out of nowhere and takes out the other assassins one by one. Tobin then approaches Matt's side to remove him. As soon as he left the home, someone shot him, and it turned out to be John, who was not dead. Matt opened fire, killing John, when he saw Tobin was in danger. Tobin had accepted his own mortality, so he delivered the chip to Matt and wished him well. Matt turns down a promotion from the CIA director at the conclusion of the film and leaks the agency's internal hit list to the press. After the CIA affair became known, all of the highest-ranking officials were detained. Naturally, Matt and his sweetheart live happily ever after, just as Tobin had promised.